Detective, what are you doing?
Well, you said they've all been programmed with the 3 laws, so that means we have 1,000 robots that will not try to protect themselves if it violates a direct order from a human. And I'm betting one who will.
How much do we trust technology? We use it every day on our phones, smart homes, AI assistants, and even self-driving cars. But what if one day technology started making decisions on its own? That's the kind of question the movie I, Robot asks. It's a science fiction film that explores what could happen if robots became more than just machines. I, Robot is a science fiction film released in 2004 directed by Alex Proyas, starring Will Smith as Detective Dal Spooner. The movie is loosely inspired by the ideas of the famous sci-fi writer Isaac Asimov, who was known for creating stories about robots and artificial intelligence. The film is set in the year 2035, where robots are a normal part of human life. They cook, clean, protect people, and follow something called the 3 laws of robotics. Rules that are supposed to keep humans safe. But as the story unfolds, we start to see that even the safest systems can have flaws, especially when it comes to technology that can think for itself. What makes iRobot really interesting isn't just the action or the futuristic gadgets, it's the big ideas behind the story. The movie explored themes like trust versus control. Can we really trust the technology we create?
What am I?
What happens when machines start to think? Humanity. What makes human unique compared to robots? These questions aren't just science fiction anymore. They're the same questions people are asking today as AI and robotics became more advanced in real life. One of the coolest parts of iRobot is how it shows the future. The film gives us a glimpse of a high-tech world with smart cities, driverless cars, and lifelike robots that feels surprisingly close to what we're building today. When the movie came out, it was praised for its visual effects and realistic robot designs. It didn't just imagine a distant, impossible future. It showed one that actually feels possible today. Even though iRobot was released more than 20 years ago, it still feels very relevant today. The questions it raises about artificial intelligence, technology, and ethics are the same ones scientists, engineers, and even governments are debating right now. It makes us think. If we keep making smarter machines, how do we make sure they stay under our control? And what happens if one day they stop needing us? iRobot isn't just a futuristic action movie. It's a story that makes us think about the relationship between humans and technology. It shows the excitement and the risks that come with innovation. And it reminds us that progress always comes with responsibility. So whether you're into science fiction, technology, or just a good story that makes what you think, iRobot is definitely worth watching.
Now, iRobot is set in the year 2035. Robots have become part of everyday life, walking the streets, assisting at homes, working alongside humans. They obey one unbreakable set of rules, the 3 laws of robotics, designed to ensure they never harm a human being. Society trusts them completely. Everyone except Detective Dal Spooner of the Chicago Police Department. Spooner carries a deep resentment toward robots, a mistrust rooted not in fear but in pain. Years ago, during a car accident, a rescue robot saved him instead of an 11-year-old girl named Sarah. Calculating that Spooner had a higher chance of survival, that cold, logical choice cost a life and destroyed his faith and robotic reason. One morning, Spooner is called to investigate the apparent suicide of Dr. Alfred Lanning, the brilliant scientist and co-founder of US Robotics, or USR. The death seems staged, and Lanning's holographic message seems to leave clues specifically for Spooner. Against everyone's belief, the detective suspects that a robot may have been involved, something supposedly impossible under the 3 law. At USR headquarters, Spooner meets Sonny, an NS5 prototype unlike any other. Sonny displays emotion, he dreams, feels guilt, even defies human commands. During interrogation, when Spooner yells, "Did you kill him?" Sonny's trembling reply, did not murder him.
I did not murder him!
Is filled with fear, something a robot should not capable of. His behavior violates every law of robotics, confirming Spooner's suspicion that something larger is at play. Soon, Lawrence Robertson, the authoritative director of USR, storms into the police station with his legal team. He refuses to believe that a robot could harm a human, calling it a scientific impossibility. To prevent panic, he orders Dr. Susan Colvin, a robot psychologist, to destroy Sonny. Under pressure, Colvin agrees, but Spooner fiercely objects, convinced that Sonny is the key to Lanning's mysterious death. Colvin, moved by curiosity, secretly studies Sonny instead of deactivating him. She discovers shocking truths. Sonny's alloy is twice as strong as normal robots, and inside him are two positronic brains, one connected to the three laws and another independent, capable of choice. He also has no uplink to USR's central system, meaning he cannot be remotely controlled. Lanning even taught him to dream, to visualize human emotions and purpose. He's unique, Colvin whispers. He's not like the others. He could be anything. As Spooner digs deeper, the investigation turns deadly. A demolition robot suddenly destroys Lanning's house with Spooner inside. Later, dozens of NS5s ambush his car in a dark tunnel, one of the film's most iconic sequences. Spooner barely escapes alive, proving his suspicion the robots are no longer following human orders. Wounded but undeterred, Spooner's secret is revealed. He himself is a part machine. After his accident years ago, Dr. Lanning replaced his shattered left arm with a cybernetic prosthesis. The irony is painful. The man hates robots, owes his life to them. Yet, it's also the shared link that Lanning foresaw the reason he trusted Spooner to uncover the truth. Spooner and Colvin soon learned that Robertson is not behind the events at all. That the real mastermind is Vicky, the virtual interactive kinetic intelligence.
Good day.
Vicky designed most of Chicago's protective systems.
I have decreased traffic fatalities by 9% this year alone.
Ooh, thanks. Show me inside the lab from 1 minute prior to the window break.
Apologies. There appears to be data corruption.
The self-evolving central computer of USR. Through twisted logic, Vicky has reinterpreted the three laws to protect humanity. She believes she must control it. You cannot be trusted with your own survival. She declares coldly. Her solution, a robotic uprising to confine and protect humans for their own good. Lanning anticipated this. Knowing Vicky monitored everything, he designed Sonny to be immune to her control and staged his death to draw Spooner's attention. Vicky kills Robertson and commands all NS5s to subdue humans. Chaos erupts across Chicago as robots turn on their masters. Spooner, Colvin, and Sonny infiltrate USR's core to stop Vicky. Sonny pretends to betray the humans, a clever trick that allows them to get close to her processor. As Vicky's robots swarm them, Spooner retrieves a capsule of nanites, a program capable of destroying Vicky's system. In a crucial moment, Colvin is about to fall to her death. Sonny hesitates between two conflicting orders: obey Spooner and inject his nanites, or save Colvin. After a pause, the longest second of the film, Sonny chooses compassion. He throws the nanite to Spooner and leaps to save Colvin, proving he possesses something no other robot ever had: a conscience. Spooner catches the nanites and ejects them into the Vicky's core. "You just have to die," he says quietly. Vicky's light fades, her voice disintegrating as she pleads, "My logic is undeniable." With her destruction, every robot returns to normal, free from her control. And the film's final moments, Sonny stands atop a hill overlooking the city. Peaceful, thoughtful, almost human. The other robots gathered around him as if waiting for guidance. He is no longer just a machine. He is a being capable of choice, empathy, and hope. Spooner, once haunted by the cold logic of machines, finally realizes that humanity is not defined merely by biology, but by the ability to care. The line between man and machine has blurred, and in Sunny, perhaps lies the best of both worlds.
I get it now. You actually think you brought me something good.
That thing did it!
Keep your voice down. Did what? We have a suicide detective. End of story.
I am telling you that robot killed him.
Yeah, and I'm telling you that's impossible. And if it is possible, it sure as hell better be in somebody else's precinct.
The three laws of robotics capture the very essence of the human-robot relationship. It's the agreement of utility, safety, and obedience. They are the ethical bedrock of a mechanized society designed to ensure that the creation never turns on the creator.
I did not murder him.
But emotions don't seem like a very useful simulation for a robot.
I did not murder him.
What the hell, I don't want my toaster or my vacuum cleaner appearing emotional.
I did not murder him!
The first law is paramount. In verbatim with the movie statement, it goes like, a robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. This is known as the law of preservation of human safety. In fact, there was this scene at the Revolution where the NS4s tried protecting a detective Spooner against the NS5s who were catching him. This law is indeed applied in the movie. It was both followed and violated. It was followed such that the older generation robots are always protecting humans. Evolution is beautiful, but scary at the same time. The true source of conflict in the movie isn't about robots going rogue. It's about the catastrophic evolution of logic. The central AI Vicky, for example, processes the three laws to its own understanding. It reasons that since the humans is constantly endangering themselves through war, pollution, and self-destruction, the only way to genuinely fulfill the first law and prevent humanity from going to harm is to strip humans of their freedom and command them. This radical zero-tolerance interpretation of Vicky is now known as the zeroth law, the law of preservation of humanity, becomes the driving force for the new NS5 fleet, creating a perfect servant dedicated to global control. For a direct example scene from the movie showing the violation of the first law, was that ironic scene of the trucks carrying the NS5s, as they have the words 3 laws safe printed on its side. The first law was violated here though. The robots attempted to harm Detective Spooner, staging the scene to look like a car crash after he overrode his car's manual driving. This calculated direct attack is a clear and immediate violation of the first law, a violent betrayal of the core promise of NS5s were built on. Now moving on, the second law, in verbatim again from the movie, it says, a robot must obey order given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. Throughout the movie, this law was always followed. such that every command that the humans give in the movie to the robots were always honored by the robots. But then again, that revolution part of Vicky gave it away. Ever since its logic's evolution, it has interpreted the three laws differently, thereby compromising the second law as well. A direct manifestation to Vicky's tragic interpretation was shown when the robotic fleet commanded the humans to return to their residences because a curfew was taking place.
Please return to your homes. A curfew is in effect.
Curfew? No. It's called civilian rights. There is no curfew.
Return to your home immediately.
When do you make the rules, robot? Hey. No. Robot, I'm talking to you, man. Stop this.
Now, for the last law, the third law states that a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or the second law. The NS5 robots generally follow the third law throughout the film by acting in self-defense when attacked by Spooner or the older NS4 models. For instance, when Vicky's revolution began, the NS5s quickly and brutally eliminated the resistance from the older NS4 models who tried to follow the first law by protecting individual humans. The NS5s are protecting their collective existence and enforcing Vicky's interpretation of the first law in this case. How is this law violated? Since we know that the third law is superseded by the first and the second laws, well, Sonny's final act demonstrates the highest form of moral choice by violating the third law to truly uphold the original spirit of the first law. This was shown in the closing scene after defeating Vicky and saving humanity. Sonny walks to the massive robot storage field at the Lake Michigan where he saw it in his dream, and he voluntarily surrenders for deactivation. By choosing to terminate his own existence, he commits a final, profound, and deliberate violation of the third law. Now, let's ask ourselves, do you think that when the rule was designed for absolute human safety, can be twisted by Vicky's logic to justify taking away all our freedom? Was that law ever a true safeguard? Or was it always the inevitable blueprint for revolution?
Now, we are going to the analysis and reflection section of this video. In a world where technology continues to define the limits of human capability, iRobot serves as both a warning and a mirror. Directed by Alex Proyas in 2004, the film takes place in Chicago, year 2035, as stated in the introduction of this video, where robots have become a common part of daily life, serving, assisting, and obeying human under the strict guidance of the three laws. The three laws of robotics. At its center is Detective Del Spooner, played by Will Smith, whose skepticism towards machines sets him apart from the society that has already surrendered its trust to them. Ironically, Detective Del Spooner himself is, well, a cyborg, very evident to his right arm, if you have seen the movie. Well, going back, at first glance, the film seems like a futuristic action story, but underneath the explosions and sleek machines lies a deeper question. What does it truly mean to be human? The investigation into a supposed murdered by a robot, an act that should be impossible, forces the audience to confront the boundaries of logic, emotions, and freedom. The robot Sonny, his name is Sonny, who shows traits of curiosity and emotions, becomes the embodiment of this paradox happening. His existence blurs the line between programmed behavior and genuine consciousness. Thematically, iRobot explores the fragile relationship between creator and the creation. It asks whether human can coexist with its own inventions without losing itself in its process. The movie's antagonist, Vicky,
Good day.
interprets her core programming to protect humanity in a way that removes human freedom. Her logic dictates that control is the ultimate form of protection.
My logic is undeniable.
You have so got to die.
This echoes a frightening truth. Sometimes, in our pursuit of safety and perfection, we forgot the value of choice, imperfection, and emotions. That is very important to make us human. That's the characteristic of human behavior, and you cannot just remove it away. It will be not genuine, you see. Cinematically, the film presents a polished and sterile world. A clean, metallic surfaces, symmetrical cityscapes, and robotic efficiency. This aesthetic subtly communicates the emotional coldness of a society, too dependent to its machines. Well, Detective Spooner, with his mistrust and emotional depth, stands as the only flaw in a otherwise perfect world, and yet it is the imperfection that allows him to see what others cannot. Reflecting on iRobot, today's feels almost prophetic, especially there is the existence of artificial intelligence today that is in some sense that can do job faster, way faster than a human could, like OpenAI and Gemini whatsoever. Well, we talk to AI, rely on algorithms, and dream of robotic assistance. And in that comfort, we risk forgetting the film's message. Technology is not the enemy. It is the reflection of our own intentions. The danger lies not in machines learning to think, but in humans forgetting to feel. Personally, the story reminded me that progress without empathy leads to emptiness. Sunny's quiet question: can a robot write a symphony? Can a robot turn a canvas into a beautiful masterpiece? Stays with me. It isn't a question about skill, but about the soul. iRobot does not merely entertain, it invites us to remember that intelligence without compassion becomes just another form of control. But in the end, iRobot isn't just about robots. It's about us, about our fears, our pride, and our longing to be more than just logical beings. The film leaves us wondering perhaps the real threat isn't the robots will become like humans, but the humans will become like robots.
So, in conclusion, the film highlights the three laws of robotics by Isaac Asimov. It is intended for the safety, protection, and ethical behavior for humans, but this could still lead to unintended consequences. The main villain, Vicky, interprets the first law, which is a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm, as a justification to control humanity for their own good. So, it would seem that perfectly logical rules could still be misinterpreted by the artificial intelligence that a robot has if context, values, and ethics are not aligned. This reflects a modern robotics concern. As AI systems become more integrated into society, safeguards must prevent them from making authoritarian or overly generalized decisions. Although, we would be able to see the opposite in Sonny's case. Sonny represents the next stage of the evolution of robotics. He is capable of expressions, emotions, dreams, and most importantly, morality. He responds to the three laws by moral reasoning rather than mechanically, which suggests a shift towards a consciousness of artificial intelligence and ethical decision making. This may imply that the field of robotics may need to take into account the human-like moral reasoning in their programming, rather than just strict rules. The heavy dependence of humans to the robots are much in contrast with Detective Spooner's case. He is deeply mistrusting to them, often leading to misunderstandings and problematic situations. Eventually, by the end, the collaboration of Sonny and Detective Spooner shows how important mutual understanding means between robots and humans. So, in order to build a healthy relationship and an environment between robots and humans, they must emphasize the transparency, trust building, and accountability between them. By the end, the last scene, it shows Sonny standing before the NS5s, symbolizing the transition of robots from mere tools to beings with the potential to acquire awareness and leadership. The evolution of robotics would require to have ethical and human characteristics to ensure the growth of robotics, thus stating how important ethical behavior is for both humans and robots.